So I'm on the phone with one of my friends from college the other day, and she was talking about a job of hers where she feels kind of like the employer doesn't necessarily appreciate all the procedures and processes that she set up while in that position that she's in, and she feels very replaceable right now. I know a lot of people feel very underappreciated when they think of being an employee that is replaceable at a business. And I don't know, it really got me thinking about whether or not that concept is always a bad thing. I know that a lot of people will disagree with that, and they think that they don't want to feel replaceable at their job because then they feel like, how am I of value to this company if I'm a replaceable employee? And I think that, so from personal experience, when I've walked into a position somewhere, there wasn't necessarily anything set up in place for me to follow. I mean, sometimes, but a lot of times I was kind of laying the tracks down as I was going and kind of creating my own processes and procedures. And don't get me wrong, everyone needs to create their own process to accomplish things because everyone does it in different ways. And a lot of companies value that. They want the fresh ideas, the fresh perspectives, and things like that. But I will say that it's rather daunting for the employer and the employee to have someone come into a position and there not be any kind of framework sitting there for them already. I think that it makes it harder on the employee. They're a lot more nervous when they walk in because they're seeking that guidance because they're in a new company and they're in a new work culture that they're not familiar with yet. And it's extremely nerve-wracking for the employer because they're throwing a new person into this and they're kind of used to, whatever the circumstance, the previous employee left. So they're throwing this new person in there who they don't know very well yet. I mean, they've made it through the hiring process, obviously. But that's really daunting for both sides, I think. So in the positions that I've been in, I don't think that it's been a bad thing for me to feel replaceable. I guess maybe that comes with a lot of positions I walked into I knew were temporary. So I kind of set things up knowing I was going to be exiting that position. And I think when people are really settled into their career and they're in a position in a company that they're kind of climbing a corporate ladder of some sort, they don't want to feel like just anyone can walk in and start doing their job. I think it shows a lot of value to a company when you can create such efficiency and great processes for yourself and in your position that anyone can walk in and take over. So say you go on sick leave or something like that, or something happens with family and you need someone to fill in for you. If there's those systems and processes put there that you created, I think you're contributing a lot of value to that company because they're able to recover very quickly without you. And if any employer doesn't see that as a valued asset to their business, then they're blind. And so I don't want people to think that feeling replaceable is always a bad thing. I don't think it's always a bad thing. And I like I said, there's many different perspectives to this. I'm just kind of shedding light on as many smaller ones as I can right now with this. I thought it was something very valuable for people to think about when they feel replaceable or they're kind of in a spot where there's a little bit of dissonance between them and their employer. So that's just a little thing to think about. So I worked in this position one time where they'd started a new program. This is actually one of my first jobs in the corporate or administrative world, whatever you want to call it. And there was no process or procedure to this. It was actually very new for the employee in my position to be doing these types of things because it was kind of new to everybody. And I actually created a structure of like literal like guide, like a template of how to do all these things. And I went over it with my boss, my supervisor, and this was a temporary position. I was working there as for a work study program. And I came back about a year later after I'd started college. I'd left and went to college for a while, and I came back to work during one of my breaks. And the amount of people that commented on how much easier life was because I created those guidelines for the next employee was awesome. And it was very, very rewarding. And I felt so valued as an employee in that place, even though I wasn't there anymore. I felt so much value coming from that employer later on. And when they hired me back, I had more responsibilities, I was making more money, and it was really cool to come back and be able to do that kind of stuff. So I guess the main thing that I want people to kind of take away from this video is that sometimes feeling replaceable is not a bad thing. I think that I think it's the way people view it. It's the perspective of feeling replaceable. If you view it as, wow, I'm so efficient at creating a structure for the position I'm in that anyone could come in and fill in, I think that makes you one hell of a valuable asset to that company that you're working in. And employers out there should encourage their employees to create those systems so that it's easier when you go to promote that employee. The next person you put in their seat knows what to do. They're able to jump behind the car and start driving right away because the employee before them was able to set out all these guidelines. And I think that that should be rewarded. I think that a lot of time, I'm not saying a lot of times, there are times where I feel that people don't get promoted or get passed up for an opportunity to work in a higher capacity because the employer likes what they're doing so well and they're afraid they can't replace them doing that thing. So on the employee side, that's something to think about when you're creating those things and feeling replaceable, is that you kind of want to be replaceable. So when the employer is looking for that next candidate to promote or fill into this next position, that they're ready to hire you because they know that you've laid out all these guidelines for the position that you're in, and that they're confident that when they hire the next person, everything will be laid out there and it will not take nearly as much time and energy to train that new employee because you've done such an excellent job of structuring it all out for them. So thanks guys for listening to this one, and I will see you again soon.